Welcome to the Rachele and Cassandra Show. Before we begin, our disclaimer. Rachele and Cassandra aren't attorneys or financial advisors. They are, however, licensed in their respective professions.
We just presume that it's always recording and everything is gold that comes out of my mouth. And obviously Cassandra is a wealth of amazing words.
And song. We do sing a lot.
You sing a lot. I sing, but only when we're not recording.
Okay.
And welcome to episode 95 of the Rachele and Cassandra Show, in our unending desire to bring you the best, most timely information pertaining to real estate, especially in Michigan. We are here to talk about, and I feel like we've done a lot of episodes about this, but a specific situation that has to do with title insurance. And I'm going to address the new format. Our new format is trying to make the topics a little more digestible, a little more concise. So we're going to try and tackle title insurance in about 20 minutes. And go. No, I fucking hate that and go. It's like the do your own research.
I hate and go. Yeah.
I'm not going. It will inspire me to not respond to your post if you do that and go shit.
Right. Looking for recommendations and go. Mm-hmm. How about that one?
Yep.
There's your recommendation.
Do your own research. That's my recommendation.
Well, so I can talk a little bit about title insurance. My knowledge grows with each year.
I want to tell a story.
Any means an expert. So you tell your story.
So most of our topics come from stuff that we're really dealing with out in the field. And I had a situation.
I think you mean out in the wild.
Out in the wild.
In the field is.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Out in the jungle.
Always
in
out
the real estate jungle. Welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games. We got everything you want. I just heard this song yesterday too. I remember thinking like, why aren't you singing? You guys, she's lip syncing and dancing.
Can you not hear me?
You're not.
I wasn't. In my head, I heard it though.
Never karaoke with Cassandra. She will leave you hanging. So much for no rabbit trails. Here's the story. I had an agent on my team write a contract for a buyer, got the house. We get to closing. I sit in at closing, and I noticed this weird, how do I do this without going down a rabbit trail about split closings? Let's just say, when you sell a house, you hand over the deed to a property along with a title insurance policy covering the owner's new interest in the property, the new owner's interest in the property. And there are, in my real estate contract, 3 options for title insurance: with standard exceptions, without standard exceptions, and Alta or expanded or Eagle. It's like the golden blanket policy. It's called some different things, but there are other types of title insurance, but this is what is on my real estate contract.
So your contract, when you're offering to purchase, you say the buyer wants to purchase this and would require the seller to provide me one of these 3 types.
Exactly. So we are saying when we write an offer on a property, yes, we'll give you this much money. We will close this quickly. We're using this type of financing. We are requesting this kind of title insurance policy be provided to us by the seller.
Okay.
And it is considered a seller closing cost customarily. Not always, but customarily. And in my contract, that's how it works. As a matter of course, I only ever always insist that my client request an expanded title insurance policy. And we'll come back to some of the nuances between the policies. The story I'm telling is a little interesting and weird, and I've never had anything like this happen before, but it could have happened and I didn't notice. It's a new thing I'm watching for. As a matter of course, I and my agents are supposed to be always, only ever requesting an expanded title insurance policy. I use this analogy that it's kind of like in Michigan, we have something called PL and PD insurance on your car, and then we have full coverage. And the only one that's worth a shit is full coverage. And your Eagle policy is your full coverage title insurance policy. Like, nobody ever needs their title insurance. If you do, the title insurance, like all insurance, is going to try and deny the claim. and they're going to go back to your policy. And the only one that actually has a dick's worth of coverage, in my opinion, is the expanded policy, and it's not that much more expensive. To the point where if I request it on a contract and the other agent or seller says, we like your offer, but we're only going to give you a policy with standard exceptions or without standard exceptions, I go to my client and I say, let's move forward, but you should pay the difference and get the expanded policy, because typically it's like $200 or $400. It's like 10% more than the policy that they're offering you.
And now it's a one-time charge.
Yes, and it covers backwards. It covers, we'll come back to what it covers. Just know you need it. And we did an episode about this. But yes, you pay for it once at closing and you have the policy. The other title company who was issuing
seller's title company.
So I'm representing the buyer. The seller's title company is issuing this policy. They came with a document, and I don't even remember what it said, but at closing, they put this document in front of my client that had some weird title requirement, like you acknowledge that this, and this wouldn't be covered. And I was like, can I look at that? And I looked at it, and I was like, this is weird. I've never seen this. So I take it outside of the room. I take it to my title rep, and I was like, what does this mean? And they're like, that's really weird. I've never seen that on a policy without standard exceptions. And I was like, well, hold the phone. We're not supposed to have a policy without standard exceptions. So I look at the contract, and my agent had requested a policy without standard exceptions, and the title company was issuing a policy with standard exceptions. So not
they
only
were issuing the wrong type of title policy.
Yes, and it felt like a fucking sleight of hand. Like, I think they knew they were doing it. And here's why it's fucked up. One, my agent fucked up and requested the wrong policy. Shame on me for not making sure everybody understands why it matters. But even so, they were issuing an inferior policy. So get this. So I was like, we are not closing that. We're not closing like this. We got to figure it out. They went back to their underwriters, and it was a middleman title company, and I could go down so many rabbit trails with this. They were like, well, the contract says without standard exceptions, and we will not issue that policy without a survey. And I was like, well, then fuck that. Let's just issue
survey away, bitch.
No, I've been down this road before where I've been in a contract where a survey is required. And you know what the answer is? Get the expanded policy, because it will cover encroachment and it doesn't require a survey. And they were like, well, the contract says without standard exceptions. I was like, yeah, but you're issuing a with standard exceptions, and now you want to do a fucking survey, which is going to cost thousands of dollars on this property. So why can't we just upgrade to an expanded policy? We work all that out. We sign this addendum at closing. The seller's agent wasn't there. I would really like to name the brokerage that they were working with, because he did not even know what was happening in this conversation. We're like at closing, and I'm like on speakerphone with him and his angry title rep. Anyway, we work it out. There's going to be a cost difference of maybe 10%, which in this case worked out to around $200, theoretically. But in reality, what happened is once they priced the policy, there was zero cost increase to the seller. I think they ate the difference because they fucked up. But the lesson, I think, is, one, know the differences in the title policy you're getting, but two, check and make sure that what you got in the contract is what's issued. Anyway, it was a lot of talking out of me, and my microphone is sinking again. I'm going to be like, I'm not napping, I promise. But okay, so you did a little bit of digging on what the difference is without standard exceptions, and what are standard exceptions?
Okay, I can tell you what they are. There's usually 4 standard exceptions.
And and just like the words with or without standard exceptions sounds like some kind of lingo, but if you break it down into English, an exception to a policy is something that goes like, we will cover these circumstances except where it pertains to this kind of situation. So what are the standard exceptions?
So there's usually 4.
And they
Any
are
encroachment, encumbrance, violation, variation, or adverse circumstances affecting the title that would be disclosed by an accurate and comprehensive survey of the property.
Yep.
Rights or claims of parties in possession, such as current tenants with an existing unexpired lease or any easements, claims of easements, or encumbrances not shown on public records. These are kind of big things. These
They're
are
big
like common things.
Like you have
Yeah.
a giant 30-acre parcel, and your neighbor on the neighboring 30-acre parcel built a building, and it's on your property, and you don't ever go out there. How would
Yeah.
you know? He mows past the building. You think the property line is somewhere, and it's somewhere else.
Construction, mechanics, contractors, or materialmen's liens, claims for services, labor, and materials when such liens are imposed by law and not shown in public records.
So that would be a situation where I hired a guy to build the deck. I didn't pay the guy. A week before closing, he slaps a lien on the property. It's not showing up in public record until after closing.
Yep.
And
And taxes or assessments which are not shown as existing liens in the public records. They could still be there, just not recorded. IRS liens, things like that. And there's also during COVID, I can speak to this a little bit, not on the owner's title side. It's weird because the words get really fucking mouthfully and stupid.
Yes.
The sellers
give
of
an
the
owner
home
policy.
Purchase for the new owner. They buy an owner's policy for the new
Yes.
owner, right? It's also known as the buyer's policy, the owner's policy. The buyer of the home, the new homeowner, has to purchase a title policy also for the lender. So there's actually 2 title policies, one protecting the lender that the purchaser of the home does.
Yes.
And one protecting the new owner of the home that the current owner of the home buys. So
Correct.
it's really wordy and whatever. But during COVID, so the county clerks got really fucking far behind, like insanely far behind.
Yes. And there are
with
still many
recording things.
areas in our state that do not do electronic recording.
Yes. So over and above that, the electronic recording's a total side to this discussion. During COVID, a lot of them were closed and behind. I would get title policies from First American, or it doesn't matter who, fucking everybody, right?
Yes.
The title policy was from 4 months ago.
They're dated. Yes. They cover, people need to know that, I guess. It covers a specific point in time.
And it's always backward looking. And you mentioned that. So
the only
it's
insurance
not
that looks
looking.
backwards.
Yeah. So they're going, hey, based on this day that we looked at this, everything's fine, or this is the stuff that's needed. We're going to cover this home.
And let's use a date. We closed on June 1st.
Okay.
So June 1st, 2021, we closed last year, June 1st.
If it was during COVID, I would have had a title policy in that was dated February 1st. It was 4 months old because the county clerk is so backed up that when the title company goes to investigate the house, all they can see is shit from February. That's it. So that's the day they go, okay, so the records are updated as of February. Now, I don't know what the fuck's happened between February and June.
Yep.
And I'm not covering it. Somebody could have slapped a mechanics lien on it. There could be a tax lien on it. And in Michigan, it's first come, first serve. So there could be a stack of documents at the county waiting to be filed, not recorded.
That
and the
nobody
title
knows.
companies, right. And the title company is basically saying, I don't know what the fuck happened in the last 4 months because nothing's recorded because they're so backed up. But I'll get you from February backward. And the lenders say, yeah, no.
We need coverage for the goofy.
And that's called gap coverage.
Yep.
Because the first come, first serve, you closed on June 1st, right?
Yes.
What if somebody went to the house? What if somebody drove to the county court on the 31st of May?
Yes.
May 31st and said, mechanics lien, those bitches owe me 10 grand for a deck I built that they never paid me. That is recorded. That takes first priority, which is why you want that gap insurance.
Priority over the mortgage that will be filed after closing.
Absolutely.
Because Michigan is that's what she means by first come, first serve. If you are the first to record your claim against the property, then you
are first
in line to get paid. First in line to take the house.
Which is why a mortgage is usually first position. If you are back on taxes, right? A federal government could be second in line. You know, if you had a second mortgage, you might have a primary mortgage and then a second mortgage and then a federal tax lien and then a fucking divorce decree that you have to pay out. Some of these things can start to add up, and we're first come, first served, right? Type of state. So
and it's also important to know that the documents, even if they're not filed, are legally binding, which is where title claims come from. I could have deeded my house to my brother, and he's holding the deed in his safe. We talked about this a little bit last week with some of the estate planning stuff, but then I turn around and sell the house, and then my brother comes along to the new owners and says, she had no right to sell that. This is my house. Like, now you've got title problems, chain of title, title cloud issues.
And those all have to be resolved before a mortgage company anyway, or hopefully any cash buyer would proceed.
Yes.
You want to own the home free and clear. It's like losing the title to your car. And we've talked about this, that piece of paper that says you own it. If you have a lien on it, it'll say lien by, Consumers
MSU
Credit
Federal
Union.
Credit Union.
Exactly.
Not that that's where all my car notes are.
But once you pay it off, it really is on you to take the letter that your MSUFCU gave you and says you paid it in full and get a new title that doesn't have a lien on it. That's basically what the title company is doing for your house. So you want to make sure
good analogy.
It's covering everything. So.
Yes. And it's incrementally, like it's so cheap to get that better coverage. If you take whatever you think of Cassandra and I and the way we deliver information, whatever, take this piece, get the expanded policy.
Don't fucking listen to us if you don't like it.
Well, except listen to this. Get the expanded freaking title policy because it's the only one worth having. The rest of it is like garbage. If you're going to pay, say it's a $1,500, and as the seller, you're going to buy this $1,500 policy, let's say, and it's $275 more for the expanded policy. Well, guess what? That policy that you're giving to the new owners covers you. It covers liability from when you owned the property because it looks backwards from closing. So you are protecting yourself for nominal money. And then on the buy side, if sometimes sellers agents really think they're advocating for their client by trying to save $200 or $250 in my $275, whatever I said. And though I can understand that whole my clients, I need to save them money, you're really not protecting your client. I advise all my sellers, sell it, only provide an expanded policy. It protects you. That's just my opinion, but my opinions are right. Thank you.
Well, I would agree. If I've read a title policy, I don't know that many people have read a title policy. I'm sure plenty of people have.
I will send you one if you are interested.
Multiple pages, and it tells you basically, like I have one right now. A husband is refinancing to get cash. Him and his ex-wife are on title. So I need the divorce decree so that I need her to quit claim deed the property so that it can go from them to him. So and it tells me in the title policy, if I read it, what they need. A good title company, and I'm going to say this loud, title company
multiple times.
Say, you have a fucked up thing. Look at this. Don't just hand me a 40-page document and be like, find the hidden fuckery. Yeah. Just tell me. Be like, here's your title policy. There's some fucked up shit because there's an examiner, a professional title examiner who pulls that, gets it together, and knows when something's weird. Hey, there's 2 federal tax liens. Hey, you need a divorce decree. Well, hey, I need a quick claim
What
deed.
You'll normally see on a title policy is like, hey, we'll insure this as long as the prior mortgage is paid off and the deed is transferred to the new owner. And there's all of these checkpoints that have to be hit. And when there's a cloud, it will be like, find out what happened to Joe Smith from 1940, who was the last guy on title with it never got transferred out of his name. They will find, you know what it is? It's analog.
It's in the same list, just so you know. It's all the same.
So this is analog blockchain. We still have to do this right now the analog way to verify that that all of these deed transfers are clean and clear. And I want to mention too, you had said quit claiming. Let's talk briefly about, can I just stress that if you are going to quit claim any ownership of property from anyone or to anyone or toward or away from anyone, have your attorney do it. Because that's, or a title company. Because I see a lot of messed up quit claim deeds where interest is transferred in a way that does not serve the parties who are doing the deeding. Anyway, sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, title company will charge you $35 to
They do it all day long.
roughly to draft a quitclaim deed.
Yeah.
And they will notarize it in front of you, and then you drive down to the county and they'll charge you $35 to record it. So for $70, you can know it's done correctly.
And the title
Pretty
company
cheap.
will, for a fee, record it for you too.
Right. You don't even have to go down.
I said this last week too, but it bears repeating. If you're transferring ownership of your property from one entity to another, or even to add an entity, check with your title insurance policy to see if you need an addendum on your policy. I transferred ownership of my property from myself to my trust, and I no longer have coverage. I didn't know.
It usually nullifies
it because my title policy covers me as the buyer, the owner of record at time of closing.
Yeah.
Lesson learned. Anyway, I think that, what else? What else do we need about title insurance? All right.
I think that's it. Without Zach, hello, when is he coming on?
Oh, you know what? That's good. I will bring him on.
Yeah, we got to get the deeper people who can talk about it a bit more. But that's about as comfortable as I feel in getting. So check your policy. If you're a realtor, lenders, double check the purchase agreement. And it's hard because that's not a line item I can check to make sure that's being fulfilled, because, especially if it's split title. But
right. No, but that's something I can look for at closing and on the preliminary settlement statement to make sure that the policy issued is the one that I requested, and to make sure I understand what I'm requesting in my offer.
Okay. All right, cool.
Sweet. Read the fine print. Thank you. Episode 95 in the books.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yay.
We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
The info given is current as of this recording, but remember, the market changes and real estate is hyper local.